Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, I interview educator and spoken word poet Dennis Amadeus. Check it out. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the celebration. As you know, this is my year of courage. We know you could be anywhere. So the fact that you're here sharing your greatest gifts, your time, your energy, your resources, it means the world to us. I hope you know that we love you, we value you, and that you are worthy just exactly as who you are today. I don't know if you can see, maybe you're on the podcast, but I got a special guest and he's already thrown up the heart sign for you. He goes by the name of Dennis Amadeus.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, Dennis? How are you?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here another year and just, doing my thing, moving forward and trying to keep the light, man.
I mean, you mind if I introduce you to the good folks who might not already know all the legendary things that you do?
Man, I wouldn't say legendary. I just, to God be the glory, as they say.
Yeah. Okay. Hashtag trying to be humble. Let me read your bio for folks. Dennis has built a career grounded by his passion to teach and inspire young people about the transformative power of education and expression. He is a writer, educator, performance artist, and a community organizer. As an artist and teaching artist, he has traveled extensively across the nation, performing and conducting art-based education workshops. He's organized multiple community fundraisers, including organizing 1,000 books to be sent to Swaziland, Africa. He recently released a new album, Waiting on the Bus, and it is literally available everywhere, including Spotify, Tidal, iTunes. It's at your mom's house. Your cousins got it. I got it. You should too. How'd I do, Dennis? How was that for a little intro for you?
That's a great intro, man. Sounds a lot better than what I would have been able to say myself. So that's why we write these things down, right?
Exactly. So, we can only say so much so in a bio. So why don't you make it personal? What's some things you want to expand upon, that you want to shed light, speak more about?
I just, write, man. Writing and just good things. But I'm just, like I said, it's really dope to be able to do what I do, man. Like, you know what I mean? To have the opportunities present themselves in the way they are, to be able to, cultivate a list like that of things and accomplishment. And really at the end of the day, you're doing it for the cause, you know what I mean? You're trying to make the world a better place, or right. For me, a lot of times I feel like I'm just trying to right the wrongs I've put in the world. So, but yeah, like I said, it's dope to be able to look back at things and be like, dang, man, I've done a lot of work. This looks respectable. This looks like I've put a lot of time in, you know what I mean? And did some great things. So to be able to even have the resume like that is a blessing. And to have a bio that can say that truthfully and honestly is really dope.
I mean, when you were, like 20, 21, is this the kind of bio you wanted to have? Is this what you envisioned?
I don't know what the hell I was thinking at 20 or 21. That's for sure. I'll tell you what, if somebody would have told me that I was going to be a spoken word poet, and that's going to be my career path, I'd have been like, first off, what the hell is spoken word? And why would I ever want to do something like that? You know what I mean? And the doors it's opened is just phenomenal, man. Like the strength and the power of just being able to articulate your story in a way that's, you know what I mean? And entertainment, but also true and powerful, is just unbelievable sometimes. Like the things that have come from that, just believing in myself and believing in my story and being able to, walk in that in the real world. A lot of it is writing my life into existence. I really believe strongly in that. You know what I mean? I have a new poem actually about that. So hopefully Bill will get to read that. But so yeah.
Well, do you have it right now with you?
I do.
You called it into existence. Let's trust it. So do you want to give any context to your poem before you read it?
Yeah, this poem, honestly, right now, if I'm being real personal and honest, I'm going through like a lot of things in my life where I'm starting, I put my self-worth and like a lot of my value and structures and in other people, right? And it wasn't in myself or in where God, or what I believe should be God, right? And so I'm having this kind of rebirth, and it's coming with a lot of growing pains, but it's coming with a lot of like validation that who I am and who I've always been is who I'm supposed to be, and so this poem is kind of a testament to that, where it's like I'm starting to realize that all the things that I've created around me, right, that resume, that bio, have come from what I was thinking that turned into words, right, that ultimately turned into actions that created real things in this world. So that's what this poem is kind of about.
That sounds dope.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. After the Word came an idea. After the idea came an action. After the action came the creation. Every single new creation begins with a word, including our day. When we first wake, what are the words that our minds say? How much we don't want to go to work? Maybe it's broke. Maybe it's fake or scared or no hope. We live in a world that works every moment of every day trying to tell us what our first word is going to be. Radios, TVs, books, bosses, preachers, teachers, MCs, even your own family and friends are buying up space in your most important estate when you are the only one that has to actually live there. If you said to yourself right now, I am great, in your own mind, you would speak, but never use your actual mouth. If I asked you to picture the most beautiful place that you have ever seen, filled with the greenest grass and the bluest streams, you can see it without using your actual eyes. That is your beginning. And in the beginning was the Word. And today that hasn't changed. We just have a timeline of existence that has manifested that word into this physical plane and built this world with planes, skyscrapers, cell phones, artificial hearts, more technology than we have ever dreamed, that all first started with a vision that was never physically seen. I am great. I mean, we all must be great. God himself says, I am who I am. So if I am whatever I'm saying I am, and I am is God, then I am a God is redundant, but I am great is a reminder. And when you speak it out loud, the first ears to hear it are the great I am inside you. The power of the word is how we are made in God's image, our ability to create. And it's in that image where we all relate. I am great. Keep telling yourself this every day, and eventually it will permeate into everything you make, defining what you are, speaking the narrative to your story, filling the book of your life with the actual words you are saying. Each sentence is a verse. Each conversation is a page, whether with your physical mouth or a million minds away, in that secret place where only you can speak with no sound, hear with no ears, see with no eyes. That is where vision lies, where prayers live, where our purest connection to the universe is. Believe in the power of your words, from Genesis to Revelation, from start to finish, from mind to manifestation. They're the force that builds all things into being or drags them back down to death. Just think about how easy it is to believe somebody when they tell you they love you, but every action speaks differently. Or how the moment you start bad-mouthing somebody, the universe puts you in a room with them to prove it. Just think about how every prayer, incantation, story, fable, tale, poem, or song that has ever had a listen, how many lives have been changed just from words that were written, how a holy book or a self-help guide can both be born from the same vision, how if God is love, then God is the greatest author ever living, how a single praise dripping from our lips can be the most beautiful color in the masterpiece of another person's future. Just think about this very poem. We're still here, still creating images from what I'm saying, still listening to observe, while I try and make I am great the loudest sound that you've ever heard. In the beginning was the word. So who is writing yours?
Yes. Wow. That's power.
Thank you, man.
How do you feel after reading it?
It feels real and true. You know what I mean? It's like it becomes a stream of consciousness sometimes. It feels like a similar way when you're just like delivering off the top. When I read this poem, it feels the same way because it just feels like there's a universal truth in there that can resonate with everybody, you know? So I don't know. I guess, like I said, it's cool to be able to write that and create that and bring it into the world, you know?
Yes. I am God is redundant. I am great is a reminder. Is that the line?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did you come to that realization?
Well, a lot of people. So I don't want to knock anybody's beliefs, right? This is just me strictly comparing to like my journey, my spiritual walk. A lot of people say that like we are God, right? We are gods that you know. And I like the sentiment of like we are all God. We are all part of God. A part of God is in all of us. But like I feel like saying that we are gods. This is just me personally. Is like is kind of arrogant, right? In a sense of like saying that we can control things that really we haven't created or don't control or we can't control, you know? And that's not, so we are gods over our own destiny. And that, I believe that's real. Like we're gods over like the decisions we make and our own personal actions and reactions to things. But to say that we are gods, like overall was always a little much for me. Because I feel like it was like I say, boxing out the big guy upstairs, you know what I mean? So, and when I say big guy, I don't think necessarily a man, but, you know, whatever force it is that exists that, you know, empowers all of us, that has created things that man hasn't created, right? Or that, you know, that one thing that flows through everything, you know what I mean? Which is like force of life and living and growth and light and positivity and movement and stuff like that. So, you know, we don't create that. That's stuff that's already here. That's stuff we're created from, you know? So that's what it was for me. Like saying I am great speaks to that's inside you without boxing out like the fact that exists, you know?
It's powerful. What's been your faith journey like?
It's been a lot. It's been a consistent one. I'll say I'm thankful for that I've always consistently, even if I was wrong or if I was on the wrong path, also understanding that sometimes that wrong path isn't wrong for me in that moment, right? Like maybe it's bigger than even if I feel like, oh, I made a mistake, that all the actions and things that I did while on that mindset that aren't wrong or bad. You know what I mean? They could still be purposeful. But just my spiritual journey has been really intense because it started as Christianity. I still identify as a Christian, but more to be honest, the identity part of it is more to prove people wrong that like, I want to prove that you could be a Christian in a different way. Right. But when I see why people don't identify with Christians, I understand very much so, especially when you start really reading the Bible for yourself. When you know, the things that I was seeing and understanding and getting out of the Bible without the like intercessor of somebody else telling me what it means. Right. Was a much more loving, merciful, generous God, right? Than one that wants us to live and wants us to be passionate and wants us to create life, and not one that's trying to box us into things, right? Or make us into something else. So because of that that's a big like perspective shift, right? I think because of that now I've kind of opened myself up to other faiths and religions and understandings of how universal things work. And just I know people don't like the idea of picking and choosing, but I think it's real, right? Like we're all individually uniquely created. So how we relate to God is going to be individually and unique, and no one structure or system could ever box every human being in ever. You know what I mean? Like no matter what. And so it makes sense that like if you take the amalgamation of everything that everybody's ever done to reach and touch and connect with God, that within all of that, I can find things that work for me and help me develop my individual communication with God, and through that communication, help define what I'm supposed to look like and walk around and act like in the world around me, in my relationships with people.
Yeah. Powerful. I resonate with a lot of that. I appreciate you speaking on it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And I know, I hope that doesn't sound too convoluted, but I'm really just trying to speak it in the most honest way I can.
I vote, even if for some people it sounds convoluted, that it doesn't matter because it's your journey.
Yeah.
You know, you're not trying to convert them to your journey.
You're
just trying to speak your truth. So some people, they're going to resonate exactly with it. Some are going to be like, I got some parts. Some are going to be like, But, you know, you can't speak to everybody at one time. You can only speak what you know.
Right.
Otherwise, you're you're trying to sell something otherwise.
Yeah, man. Real. I mean, like, that's real in our relationships with people as well. You know what I mean? Just like understanding that you know, relationships with people don't have to define like who you are as a person, you know? it's the same thing. Like our relationships with these structures and systems don't have to define how we pray or how we, how we connect with God on an individual basis. The same way, like our relationships and the people around us that we love and care for us, they shouldn't be causing us to question ourselves. That's a big awakening that I had recently too. Is like there's people around me who I've had around me for a long time that I loved a lot, but I don't know if it was unseated jealousy or things like that, that I started realizing that they always kept me down. Like even in good times, they always were saying negative things or, stuff like that. And it really entered my psyche, it enters your psyche. And it starts making you doubt yourself. And that always permeates through, like, just like the word, like if the word in your brain, just like the poem, if the word in your brain is like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not, you know what I mean? If that's constantly what's going through it, then that's what's going to permeate through what you create and how you act in the world,
I do.
Yeah.
It's powerful. When did the youth development component come in for you?
That's really what's changed my life was that understanding. I went to LA. It was a youth detention center in LA. Cuban was part of a program I think it was called Alternate Routes. And he brought me into the youth detention center. And it was my first time ever being in something like that. And LA Youth Detention Center is different than I was raised in New York. I've been in the city, been arrested a few times. I've seen my share of jails and stuff like that. Hard people, flirted with the life. I wouldn't say that I was married to it in any way, but flirted with it, been around like some messed up stuff. But no way did it compare to what I saw in that detention center. You know what I mean? I was like, this is another level. You know what I mean? Like these kids were really young. And they were in there for like capital murder charges or like these really intense offenses, man. And just the culture in there was really hard. And then, but I just went in there and I told my story and I was just very honest and I wanted to connect in a real way with them. Even honestly, I thought they wouldn't, even with the stuff I've gone through, I thought these kids would never even look at me like, even, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, dog, that's petty, But yeah, man, I did my poem about masculinity of all the poems that I did. And it was received so well. The kids, it made them think, you know what I mean? And like, they accepted it, even though it was different from them. And because it was real, they were open to the perspective. And you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I changed anybody's life in that day or nothing like that, but that was what made me realize that my story and my purpose was there. It was in working with that demographic, right? And I'm not trying to box them all in, but you know what I mean? Like underserved, there's a term that recently came out that I really liked and I can't remember it now. It wasn't underserved either, but yeah. So in that moment, that really blew it wide open. I was like, this, I was slamming and I was writing poetry and I was feeling good about putting this stuff out in the world and like talking my truth. But I didn't have a purpose to it, right? All that was really feeding my ego, which was good at the time because I needed it because I didn't have no confidence. But that gave me my purpose in this poetry, man. And then I came back and that's all I did. Like Wiley put me on Heard Him Say. That gave me the credibility I needed to like separate me from my criminal history a little bit. It gave me a lot of trouble, but I never stopped. So my criminal history blocked me from a lot of things, but I just kept pushing, like I just went to the next thing and kept trying and, and some things fell through. And then it's a domino effect. Like this person gives you a chance. Well, now this person will give you a chance. Well, now this person will give you a chance. And, I'm thankful. So I'm doing my best I can in these situations. So I'm really knocking them out the park. So now the name is spreading and now my reputation of what I do with the kids is overshadowing my criminal history. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now it's a whole new ball game. So that's kind of the path that's been on. And again, like the relationships I build with these young people, not all of them are real, right? I maybe teach probably thousands of young kids in a year, but I make real relationships with 10 of them at least. And that's impactful. In their life and in my life, because it holds me accountable and helps me be better. And remember that I can't go to the dark side sometimes when you want to go there,
Yeah. It's powerful. I appreciate you sharing that story. I remember that because I got to see you. I've been to they call them camps out here. And that's way out in Lancaster, the one you went to. So I don't remember, but you had to drive like over an hour to get there. Yeah. So like they're just totally separated from their families. It's crazy.
Yo, and then they got the literally got the adult jail like right next door, like over the hill. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, hey, that's where you're going next. Like, we're getting you prepared.
Well, do you want to share another poem with us?
Sure. So there's another poem that actually talks about the kids that I work with. So if I could share that one.
Go for it.
Now, you know, so there's some serious stories in this poem, but all the young people approved the poem and actually demanded that I speak their stories. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. All right. At 15 years old, her mother left her and her 2 sisters alone in a hotel room. Her mother never returned. At 16, he watched 6 of his friends shot and killed in front of him while he hid under a car 5 minutes away from his grandmother's house. He still has yet to tell me what happened to his parents. At 16, and for as long as she can remember, her father raped her daily, even as she watched the cancer consume her mother. This is why I can't bring myself to call them my kids. How many have birthed that moniker for them only to put them in these very situations? I don't know how to console them, so I help them write. Tell them not to hold grudges, because anybody who calls you my kids sees their reflection in you. So imagine how they must feel about themselves. Don't wish hell on them. Trust me, they are tormented every single day. There are spiritual, emotional, and economic warfare all at play. You just happen to be the collateral damage, and for that, I'm sorry. Sorry that I can only do so much in the 2.5 hours that we meet every week. Sorry that I haven't wrangled my demons enough to be in a better station in life. Sorry that sometimes I need them to validate me as much as they need me to validate their poetry. I'm sorry, just like their parents were. But being truly sorry is about action. So I use every class I walk into with them as an opportunity to show them the power to be their own guardians, their own authors to their own stories. And every time I walk out understanding so much more how to do it for myself, at least I have a choice. I wish I could adopt every struggle that they have ever had, and sometimes I wish I could adopt them. But they are much past that point, and they should be. There's a brave new world to behold, and they get to map out every step on their own from here on out. Besides, they are not my kids. They are so much more. They are triumph. They're somebody's light to help them through the dark. They are Jesus after 3 days in a grave. They are gods. They hold the power of life and death on their tongue. They breathe resurrection in every direction they are talking in. They know more than anybody that the tumultuous endings fertilizes the most beautiful blossoms of beginnings. They are living proof of the universal law of cycles with the power to shift the magnetic pole of their world. They are positivity. They are here. They are still here, still fighting. They are the planet's future, our nation's present. They are a gift to anyone in their presence. They are we. We are each other's reflections, and all I see is love. And they mean so much to me. They are the return on every brother's death that I had to invest in. They are the reason I am okay without knowing my blood family. They are the manifestation of my purpose. They are the hope that tethers the demons clawing at my heart. They are the strength in me to tell those demons fall back. And when they give me back talk, I could tell them to talk back. But they are not my kids. It's too close of a comparison to those who failed them, and honestly, I'm not much better. I can't give them good financial advice. I can't help them stay in college. I can't give them the blueprint to walking with God, but I can give them my ear, a piece of my heart, and 2.5 hours a week of my time. If that at least helps them see that they could never be me because they are their own. And I can only hope that the next time they hear the term my kids will be dripping from their own lips because they have fully rewritten everything that their parents got wrong. Boom.
Wow. Have you shared this one before?
I shared it at a slam. I read it once, and I've shared it a couple other times publicly, but not a lot. Not like any other poem that I've done.
Have you done it in front of the young people? In front of young people you work with?
Yeah. They heard it first.
How do they react?
I mean, they loved it. You know what I mean? They were very touched by it. It made a real connection with them, you know, like not like just surface level, like, oh, he's talking about me. Like, you know, a lot of them really felt it, and they came up and told me so. But and that's why I told them, I was like, you know, I was very honest with them. I was like, this would make a great slam poem, but I would never do it without you guys' like, you know what I mean, permission. Because I don't want to like take their stories, the trauma, and like score points off of it. But they were like, no, we demand that you tell these stories and do this poem. And they're like, we're honored to be in your poem and blah, blah, blah. So that was really cool.
It's like all those parts where you're saying so many affirming things, you know, like you are gods, you are amazing. I just wish the young people coming up could hear that stuff regularly. You know what I mean? That it was like the number one on the radio. Everybody was singing along to it.
Yeah.
Because it's powerful. It needs to be heard.
World, man. That little gesture right there could change so much. They suffer from so much because of us, you know, and then we tell them that they're wrong all the time, you know. I say this all the time, like we spend we don't have any agency over our lives until we're 18 years old, you know what I mean? And by the time we're 14, we start realizing that, you know, when things are messed up and where things are messed up. So that's 4 years of your life where you have no control when you know what's going wrong, you know what I'm saying? And then you got to spend the next, you know, however long you're alive undoing 18 years of what everybody else poured into you, you know what I'm saying? and you know, the hope is that at 18 the child has more positive poured into them than negative, you know. But unfortunately a lot of these kids just get only negative or very little positive, you know what I mean? And it's rough, man. It's not fair to them, I think, you know. And then they become these what they call scourges on society, but it's like they weren't born that way, they were made that way, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like it's hard to rectify that sometimes, you know, because I really care about them, man, because they're really good kids, they're really good people, and I know what it's like to be a good person and do horrible things, you know what I'm saying? So it's like there's always that dichotomy inside of me, man. And going back to like God, I think that's part of my purpose is to bridge. I actually spoke with you, I called you about this, is like I think I'm where I am, even my race, you know what I'm saying? Like everything about me is always blending, you know what I'm saying? It's always bridging things or bringing opposites to closer to the center, you know? And it's just scary sometimes because when you're like that, then there's times when everybody's going to be really mad at somebody and you got to be the person to be like, hey, let's not be hypocrites, or hey, let's not, you know what I'm saying? Let's not like crucify this person publicly, or like, you know, things like that. And then people think that you're on their side when you're just like, when I just see the humanity in everybody, even, you know, people that do horrible things, I guess. And it's hard to rectify that sometimes with other humans, you know, especially now because everybody's so quick to like find something, you know, pinpoint, focus in on it and use it to tear somebody down. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of where it come from or what the collateral damage could be. But I know I went on a whole long topic thread there. Stream of consciousness.
Well, that's the whole point of this format. So we're not looking for 30-second answers. You're doing great. Where do you hear that within you? Where did that quality of your mission to be a bridge, where did that come from?
Well, it started at Anytown. Like the understanding of what bridging was not something that is even taught. Like sometimes people feel like if that is wrong, then it has to be away from me and it's evil and it's, you know what I mean? And like the idea of bridging over to somebody who even is maybe wrong isn't even a concept sometimes, you know what I'm saying, in people's minds. So Anytown kind of created that concept where like, hey, there's other ways to deal with conflict than like cutting off or violent, not like physical violence, but like violent, just separation, you know what I mean? So, but it's taken a long process, and just honestly seeing the culture now, it's so funny because it feels like 5 years ago we were begging people to see what we were trying to get them to see, right? And then all of a sudden this kind of woke thing happened, and now all the stuff that we as poets and underground freedom fighters and stuff, whatever we wanted to call ourselves, all the stuff we've been talking about is now suddenly commercially known, right? Like everybody knows and is aware of all this stuff. And so now we're like, all right, that's good, but people are now using it to put themselves on pedestals and to tear other people down, and not to like create stronger communities or to, you know. So it's like, it's that human concept of like things always start pure, but then somewhere along the lines, human corrupt them, right? There's somewhere we turn them into a way to separate and divide in ourselves, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of the things that I saw that were really good and great, I'm like, yeah, people are awakening, and you know, we can create a better world now, have now kind of turned into people picking up flags and like picking a side and staying entrenched. And, you know, where I thought bridges would be made, they have been dissolved, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And so now it's like there's a need, and you know what I mean? And you wouldn't think so at first glance, because you're like, everybody's talking about all the things and all the information is out there and people are aware, but nobody is making the human connection to the other person. You know, it becomes ideals, and we put ourselves in these little boxes of what we think the world is supposed to be, which is not going to be, right? It's what we want the world to be. And then we demand everybody lives by this very narrow viewpoint, right, of what we believe is right and wrong. And and so because of that, and because of seeing the way things go, I felt like it was time for me to not be a coward, because I was being a coward to my calling by being placating, right, in certain moments, and not standing up because it's scary, not saying what I believed, or maybe not defending somebody who didn't deserve to be defended, but deserved to have humanity in what was going on, and just failing in that space, in those spaces a lot as well. And just coming to that realization that this is who I am, and that's what I need to embrace, especially if it's what I think God has put me here to make the world a better place, as cliche as that sounds. But
cliche, you got this. Tell me about your new album.
The album, Waiting on the Bus. Yeah, I love it. I love it more and more the more that's being received. Unfortunately, I think that's the curse of the artist. Like, no matter how amazing you make, no matter how amazing something is that you make, it's not amazing until everybody else thinks it's amazing. You know what I mean? But so I created. It's very honest. It's 13 tracks. A lot of it is very introspective to my thoughts, my ideas, my beliefs. It's interesting because a lot of people have said things like, I love your words and I love how honest you are, even if I don't agree with your beliefs. And this is the first time in my life that that's happening, which is a good thing, because it means I'm standing in what I believe, even if people don't accept it, right? Yes. Or not accept it, but even if it's not for other people, right? So I see this as wins, not like losses. Whereas before I'd have been like, oh no, you know what I mean? I'm doing something wrong because somebody doesn't like my stuff. You know what I mean? Now it's like, okay, cool. This is right. I did it in the right way. Like, I was able to deliver a perspective that they didn't agree with, and they received it. That's a positive thing. That's a win, yes. So, anyways, so that's what it is. It's called Waiting on the Bus. My license was revoked for 5 years from the state, and that's what it was. It was 5 years of waiting on the bus and running after buses and then waiting through the hot sun. But with that came a lot of time to meditate, a time to think, time to read, time to write, time to pray. And like, it's so interesting how, like, the one thing I didn't want was the one thing that helped cultivate a lot of who I am, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't want to ride the bus. I wanted to do anything but ride the bus. And every day I had to wake up and go to shows. I had to ride the bus. To go to work, I had to ride the bus. I had to, you know what I mean? But it was like an incubator. It helped cultivate so many ideas, and helped cultivate my spirituality in a lot of ways. And sometimes it was the only peace I had from the world, because I'm very extroverted and like I need other people around me. But it gave me moments where I could be by myself or just be with me and God. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so that's what the catalyst of the album was for. And so a lot of the album is this very real perspective of myself and who I am that kind of came out while I was waiting on the bus. You know what I mean? The things that I've learned and grown in.
And where can folks listen to it?
Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, any streaming platform. I think it's even on Pandora, Shazam, things like that. So.
And what do they search?
Type my name in any, if you got a streaming service, type my name in and we in there.
So letting folks know right away, in case you're on the go, show notes today are tomrell.com/Dennis, tomrell.com/DENNIS. Otherwise, if you want to search it direct, Dennis, DENNIS, last name Amadeus, MADEUS, and you can find it there. Otherwise, we'll have all of that linked up in the show notes. Do you want to close us out with a poem from your album?
Perfect. I think I'll do Waiting on the Bus. How's that?
Hey!
All right. Before I start the poem, I just want to say I appreciate your time for having me. I appreciate having an interview where I get to speak on things, I guess, that I want to speak about, if that makes sense, you know? So I appreciate having the space to be able to articulate a lot of the beliefs and things that I've had. This is very therapeutic for me in a real way as well. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
My pleasure. I appreciate you. You know I love you.
All right.
What, you don't love me?
I love you to death, dog. You already know. Yeah, I love you too, man. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I do the same thing to Tiana too, so. I feel you. I feel you. All right. Sentenced to 5 years of waiting on the bus. The true punishment of my license revocation was 5 years of walking through this 90-degree Florida sun to sit on a bench and wait on a bus that is now 9 minutes late. And I only have 15 minutes to get to a transfer that's 12 minutes away, a $5 bill in my pocket for a fare that doesn't make change, workday sweaty, frustrated, tired, phone losing every last bit of its power, on the verge of tears because the next transfer won't come for another damn hour. How is anybody supposed to make it in the city riding this bus? And I can't do anything short of throwing my hands to the sky and giving up. Since the first grade, I've always had to walk to school. Work out for class because working class parents were too tired or too absent to afford us the privilege of rides. So my best friend Juan and I walked every single day. And it wasn't all sunshine and roses. See, I'm from upstate New York, so it was football fields of 3 feet deep snow. I remember one spectacularly Arctic morning, after 15 long, icy minutes of traversing a freshly laid frozen tundra, seeing my destination shining over the horizon, but being trapped in this cruel punishment of the gods. I mean, how is anybody supposed to make the school on time, walking through the snow? To this day, Juan still reminds me of the moment I dramatically dropped to my knees, threw my hands to the sky, and gave up. He would eventually trudge back to me, grab my arm with the strength of a 15-year friendship. And you know what he told me? He said, "Man, get up. I don't know if you noticed, but we're the only ones walking through this field. And if you die, they're not going to collect a body until the snow melts. And I'm not going to be the one to tell your mother." It was an early life lesson. It was a reminder that we were not meant to be like everybody else. We were meant to carve our own path, even if it has to be foot over knee-high, frozen, snow-encrusted foot, until we physically understood why the root word of destination is destiny. You see, we want so badly just to be there already. We forget that there has a process to it all. We shun the road less traveled, forgoing the very strength we can generate ourselves just to fast forward to the conveniences that get us there quickest, and we miss those moments when we need to just stop and sit for a minute. There is just here with a T added for time. And maybe it's time we started to see things a little different. Time became the understanding that those countless hours spent waiting on our bus are actually given to us to help us find our shine, glowing over the horizon, highlighting the fact that you have a destination, somewhere to go where somebody actually wants you to be, even if that somebody is just yourself. And it may be frustrating. It may be cruel and unusual. It may feel like being the only person walking through this relentless winter blizzard, but what you are waiting on is much bigger than just a bus. You're waiting on a new beginning. And no matter how late it is or how enraging it is to not have control over your own circumstances, remember, destiny always stays running. So always stay ready. Keep your eyes on your horizon. Keep your hands out of the skies and don't give up. We will have to suffer through a few years of dark times, y'all. That's just life. But I promise you, if you stay focused, if you stay true to yourself, if you stay righteous, your bus will climb the hill right behind your morning sunshine. Thanks, Tom, for having me, man. Much love, brother.
Much love to you, too. And, folks, I encourage you to check out that video. It's on all of Dennis's social media. You want to give it a plug? What's your social? What's your IG handle?
Yeah, everything's Dennis Amadeus. As you see, it's spelled DennisAmadeus. Yeah, so just look it up. Instagram, Twitter. I'm not on Twitter too much. Instagram and Facebook is where I do most of my promotions. Twitter, I still promote on there, but I just don't talk as much on Twitter. But yeah, you can find me anywhere. DennisAmadeus.com, Dennis Amadeus at Gmail, whatever you need. I'm here for it.
That's what's up. Last two questions for you, Dennis. You might have heard me say this is my year of courage. And the reason I did that is I want to have everyday conversations with people about courage. So what to you is courage?
Right off the bat, courage is moving forward even when you feel great fear. I think that's the bare bones definition of it right there. And I've been really pressed to show courage a lot lately, and that's why it resonates with me so much. The fact that you're in a year of courage is real, because I feel like I'm in the same thing now, and the courage just looks different, right? Where before courage was just speaking up, right, and talking about the social ills of the world. Like now courage is like standing in my truth and believing in myself, and you know what I mean, moving forward without the need of validation of other people, you know, walking in what I know is to be righteous, even if others think it's wrong. You know, that's what courage looks like to me for this year. And so I'm definitely on that path as well, because it's not easy, you know, and sometimes you have to label it even in your mind when you're in the moment. Like, this is courage. This is what it looks like. So you have to move in it, you know.
Do you have any courage role models?
Ali all day. I mean, I don't know if he was scared. I feel like maybe his mouth was a defense mechanism, but to his fear. But man, the way you're talking about somebody who still is, you know, known to be the greatest fighter of all time, right? In the prime of his career, standing up to the U.S. government, and they stripped everything from him, and he stood in that because of his faith and his belief. You know what I'm saying? And I know he was scared. He had a family. That's what was bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? Like, but man, he stood in it, man. Even when his own people weren't on his side. You know what I mean? And so I always respect Ali, man. I think that is one of the greatest feats of human courage I've ever seen. You know what I mean?
That's what when you kept saying, I am great, that was reminding me of Muhammad Ali.
But he's that reminder, man. Like, you talk yourself into existence. He that's what he did. I mean, he put in the work to back it up. You know what I mean? But he did. Everybody doubted him with Sonny Liston. You know what I mean? Everybody doubted him with George Foreman. Everybody doubted him, you know, even after Sonny Liston, because they thought Sonny Liston threw the fight or whatever, you know. But he always came through all the time. You know what I mean? Because he fought through it. He knew how to fight through it.
So our regular listeners are probably making the connection that if Dennis is our poetry feature for the podcast, that probably means he's the feature for this month's live and online expression session. You would be correct. And this month's live and online expression session is August 26th. So you get a week to get your things in order to come with us and be a part of that writing workshop where Dennis will be the culminating feature. If you're on the West Coast like I am, August 26th will be from noon to 2 p.m. If you're on the East Coast like Dennis is, that means it's from 3 to 5. If you're in the Midwest where I'm from, that's going to be from 2 to 4. If you're in London, that's 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock. If you're in Nigeria, that is also 8 to 10 o'clock. If you're anywhere else besides that, I recommend that you check what that translates to. We really hope you join us. It's free. You can attend from anywhere in the world by phone, by video. It really is an opportunity to express yourself. Even if you feel like you're not a poet, you've never written anything in your life, you will have an amazing time, and Dennis will have some awesome poems for you. Anything you want to add to that, Dennis?
Man, no, I definitely say come out to the expression session, regardless of what level of writing you think you're at. If you want to get started, perfect place to do it. Super affirming. I've done it, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times now, and I always get great writing out of it. Tom does a great job facilitating, and it's good people, man. So I just want to add in to plug that, like, it is probably the best space that I could think of if you're like really shy. You don't even have to show your face. You know what I mean? Like, but you want to get writing. I think this would be the place to come, man, for real.
Appreciate that, Dennis. Once again, if you want to register for that or show notes for anything we mentioned, tomworld.com/Dennis, DENNIS. Dennis, want to thank you once again for all that you do, man.
Nah, man, thank you, bro. Same to you, bro. Same to you. You're an inspiration, man. Man, I'm watching you in the same way that you're watching me, even though we can't be together, and just know I'm always there with you in spirit, man. And anybody watching, I appreciate your time, and just keep fighting a good fight, because I know it's hard, man. You got somebody that can empathize with you right here.
Truth. So, Dennis, I always like to have the guest give the last word. So what is your invitation to the folks watching or listening? Invitation to do, to be, to think about, what is your invitation?
define God for yourself, but don't let the lack of a definition of God make you lazy in a search of one, if that makes sense.
It does. It sounds like the start of a poem. These things can be quite confusing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
For those who don't know, that's a team poem Dennis and I wrote together.
Yeah, I love that poem, man. To this day, I love that. I love that poem. That's one of my favorite pieces of art that I put out there. We got to immortalize it some way. We got to make a video or something.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dennis, so much. And thank you to everybody listening. We look forward to you joining us on August 26th. Let Dennis know your appreciation for all that he did for us today. Let him know on social, send him an email, anything like that. Yeah, man. And as always,
I'm always open for conversation on anything too, man. So
yes.
Yep.
Hit him up. Well, thank y'all. As always, we're wishing you peace and blessings. One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.